All right, there we are.
Hello, we're back.
Hello. Ah, the special long weekend edition.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you
Family Day,
yeah, Family
President's
Day.
Day.
I guess it has all sorts of different names, doesn't it? Depending on where you are.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Did you do anything exciting with, well, you're here, but I mean in general with the long weekend?
Just a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too exciting.
Yeah.
We pretty much stayed home.
Me too.
We-
Pretty
Yeah,
pretty quiet weekend. I'm just gonna adjust some audio here a bit. Okay, well, let's dive in and we'll start as usual with the AWS news. I jotted down three things that I thought were interesting. Two of the three are sort of quality of life, and then the other one was just,
Mm.
Bedrock related. So why don't we start with the quality of life ones first? There's an update in the console. Both of these quality of life ones I'm going to mention are, like I wrote in my notes, well overdue. So the first one was you can now see related resources in the AWS console, and this relates to security groups, VPCs, and other resources. So I actually haven't seen it in my console yet. In fairness, I didn't go and look very hard, but this would be kind of one of those things again that for me, well, like I said, it's long overdue and it'll save a bunch of pain, right? To figure out.
Headache,
Yeah.
heartache, frustration.
Yeah, all of the above, right? So there's not really much to say about it outside of the fact that if you're trying to do cleanup tasks, which everybody should do, it'll be easier now to know what's related to what.
Yeah, this is one of those that you'll get caught with when you're trying to clean up a security group, and you'll have some ENI that's connected to something somewhere, some orphaned network interface that hasn't cleaned up yet. So this will
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah, it'd be good. I always used to do this, and I don't know if it was necessarily uh, an exact science, but I always used to go into, assuming config was turned on, go to
Mm.
config, find the security group, then look at the relationship tab, and you'd get that JSON, and it would show you, I think all of the relationships. But as I say that out
Mm.
loud, I'm even not sure. Like, did it show relationships to RDS instance and stuff? I don't know. So
Mm.
yeah, the only other thing that this made I wrote down is now let's do KMS keys,
Yeah, no kidding.
right? Like I was cleaning up some CMKs. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. It doesn't really matter. But I don't know. You tell me if I'm missing something, but I don't think there's any way to really know if those keys are actually associated with anything.
Not without actually going through and checking the resources, because they'll flag it on
Yeah.
this EBS volume is encrypted with X key or
Yeah.
things of that nature. But no, not on the key itself. I don't think.
Yeah.
You maybe you could check CloudTrail or something, but yeah,
I,
that
I
would be definitely
generally
true.
I generally do two things. I do the same thing. I use config, assuming it's on, go to config, have a look. I don't know if I have a ton of confidence in that, if it's actually showing me the relationships or not. And then I do the disable move and see if anybody yells, which
Yeah,
is not great, but I don't know. I'd love to know if there's something else. So there's another quality of life thing that would be nice to have, or maybe I'm just missing it. I don't know. What's the other one here? Oh, this one. This one made me happy but pissed me off at the same time. So the console now displays count names in the nav bar. So instead of the 12-digit account ID, you now get, this is the dev account, this is the product, whatever you've named the account. And I
right.
also noticed another thing. I don't know if you've seen this, but Security Hub now has like a new version. There's like Security
Hmm.
Hub Classic and then Security Hub CMSP or something like that. And if you use the new version, which as far as I can tell does cost you more, but if you use the new version, it also has account names in there now too. So
Mm.
instead of you just get a finding with a 12-digit account ID, it says the 12-digit account ID and then whatever account name you've assigned it in organization. So again, well overdue.
Okay. Absolutely. I mean, that feels like a thing that we should have had years ago. Maybe when they first built the console, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
So
there's whole add-ons to solve this problem in your browser that you can use.
yeah, I'm taking credit for this. because this is one of the projects that I was working on. It was my killer SaaS idea. You know, I was going to retire a billionaire and have a yacht and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, just from this one Micro-SaaS idea. So I've shelved it. And you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and you would think at this point I would have learned my lesson, never to even remotely consider building a solution on top of AWS to fill a gap in AWS, because they will eventually do it. And that's the end of your great idea.
You'll be done. Yep.
Yeah. So I was happy to see it, but unhappy at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What are you going to do, right?
They're gonna. Yep.
Yeah. It was long overdue. So it's quite helpful. I've used it myself already a bunch of times, especially in the security hub example, which I don't think they're actually related. I think that's two different things. But just having that account ID up there, or account name, sorry, you wonder why, like you said, why wasn't it there from day one?
So much easier to just situate yourself, because that's such a common problem.
Yeah.
Like, are you when you're doing work in the console, am I in the right account? Am I in the right region? Especially if you're newer to the application, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I have worked around this for a while because I've been using Granted for a long time. And it opens up tabs in my Firefox browser, and then up in the address bar, it shows you whatever the account, whatever you named the account in your profile configurations, it shows up there. So that's nice. But yeah, it's, if you're not using something like that, it's nice to just have it right there.
Yeah, we'll take a look at. I mean, Granted's a really good solution for managing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd be dead without it now. Like, I think I'd be in deep trouble. I'd be like, how do I get into this stuff again? So anyway, so those are the two quality of life ones. My notes here also, both of them well overdue, but great stuff, right? And the takeaway is, don't build stuff that AWS can easily build, because they will eat your lunch.
Yeah, despite what you may think, they are slowly improving the console over time.
Yeah, over time, yeah. And then the third thing that I had was Claude Opus 4.6 available in Bedrock. Not
Makes
much
sense
to really say about that. The thing that caught my eye on this was it was either available the same day that Opus was available, like Anthropic made it available to use, or like the next day. And that is sort of what caught my attention on this, because I know they're always adding those new models and stuff, but I don't recall ever seeing it, you know, let's just say within 24 hours of the vendor's announcement, it pops up. And it's also available almost immediately in Curo. So you can use, well, now I guess Opus 4.5 and Opus 4.6 came out like almost
pretty close to each other,
like within a week.
Yeah, something like maybe a month in between, maybe a couple weeks.
Oh, was it that far? Okay, yeah. In my brain, I thought it was like sort of bang bang one after the other. But regardless,
that's a really close release schedule.
So you can, if you're into using the Curo CLI or the IDE, you've got them available already.
This must be coming out of the. They have that partnership with Anthropic, right? So I guess that's bearing fruit, and they're meshing much better in terms of release schedules. Yeah. So interesting to see.
Didn't Amazon AWS like invest something like tens of billions of dollars in Anthropic?
Yeah. Something like that.
Crazy. And which reminds me, hold on, I'm gonna throw a curveball here. Give me a second. Center. Is it data center investments, or I think it was data center investments? Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
This is, oh, sorry, what were you going to say as I'm searching for this?
4.5 was end of November, so this is a month, really? 2 months out. But I mean, 2 months is not that long for a jump or this kind of release, right?
Well, you wouldn't think so.
I mean, I guess our expectations are so skewed now with the speed that things are coming out.
And obviously, I've lost all, meaning of time at this point. I thought it was literally like 3 weeks difference. We're talking months. So, okay, so that's. Do you have any AWS news? Those are the ones that sort of jumped out at me over the last. I know we're a little late on schedule here, so like week can change.
Yeah, those two quality of life improvements are great. I also saw that there was an announcement. I don't know if you've been following this, but there's a service that Amazon has called Leo, which is their SpaceX competitor or their Starlink
Oh,
competitor.
okay.
So there was an article I saw about a CEO of a startup that wanted to. There's been a lot of talk recently about data centers in space, right? And how that would work and how you would implement that. And you and I mean, we're both space nerds, right? So I think we can kind of point out the immediate glaring problem with this. In a way.
I just I did see this and shared it with me, and I
Yeah.
like immediately just thinking I just don't get it, right? Like you're
Yeah.
just in the article. It said that they already have a satellite. This I can't remember what this startup was called. StarCloud.
StarCloud, yeah.
StarCloud. So they already have a satellite in space. It's running queries using Google's Gemma large language model, and that they plan on launching 88,000 more satellites. And I thought it was interesting for context. They said currently there are about 15,000 satellites total in space, and these guys are going to launch
Is that all?
88,000. I thought that's what it said in the article,
That's crazy.
unless I'm
I would have
misreading it.
guessed
But
higher, but
yeah,
I
I
suppose
kind of thought it was a little low sounding.
yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, so there's two things here, right? There's this startup that is, I mean, they're trying to get funding, obviously, for their enterprises that they're trying to send these. Their goal is to send, or the CEO said he wanted to send and put an AWS outpost in space, right? Which is kind of AWS's edge server rack unit that you can have at a remote area and push that out.
Talk about remote, like low orbit around the Earth.
About as remote as you can possibly get, I guess.
Yeah. Until Grok gets to Mars, I guess.
Right. But there's a huge problem with this, that you can't really cool these things, right? Like there's a big issue. There's no medium to use convection to cool these devices in space, right? So your normal data center will use water cooling, right? And then radiate that to the air with a big fan and a condenser evaporator situation, right? But your only option is to have big fins and radiate that out, or like a panel that radiates infrared out. So you end up spending a ton of money on the cooling infrastructure, and it costs you, just a prohibitive amount. So it's really interesting to see, like, there's this huge push for data centers in space, but it's not a trivial engineering problem that they have to solve.
To me, it's just a way that you can get an article written about you.
Yeah, that's fair.
It seems cool. Like when you sent it to me, I was like, oh, and I remember there was somebody else. Was it Microsoft or somebody that like a week or so ago also was talking about data centers in space and stuff? And I don't know. I would suspect that we will see something like this before I'm dead. But are they going to put 88,000 satellites running training and operating AI models in space? I
don't think so.
I'd love to be proven wrong. I think it would be pretty cool to see. I just don't. Yeah,
12,000 active satellites as of May 4th in 2025, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
and most of those are probably what's it called? Elon Musk.
Like Starlink, yeah.
Starlink, yeah. Half of them are just those crazy Starlink satellites. Okay.
Which,
sorry.
Kind of unrelated. The Leo news article was they got permission for 7,700 more satellites for Amazon's Starlink version, essentially.
Okay.
So we're going to see more.
Like, is that consumer grade? Like, is that something you can sign up for? Or is it more like enterprise focused, what they're doing?
I think that's the plan. I imagine that they're probably looking to compete with Starlink in that space, right? But I don't think it's available for general use.
I just went to the website and it says personal, business, government. Join the list. A new era of internet. Just tell me, like, I guess it's going to be, to your point, like, it's got to be, the cost has to be equivalent to Starlink. Otherwise, why would you do it, right?
Right.
It's pretty neat. I hadn't heard about this, but I really haven't been following it. As much of a space nerd as I am, I'm kind of like, as soon as they start talking about data centers in space and stuff, I very quick, I do the eye roll and I move on. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's change gears and let's talk a little bit about, we've got a long list of Gen AI stuff again this week, probably like 9 or 10 things we've been sharing back and forth. So let me I messed my list up. Let me try this again. There we go. Okay. So the first thing, and I don't know, honestly, if I really understand what this was talking about, but a couple things just caught my attention. Was that MIT article about AI agents and a system they built called Encompass that allows you to improve the results of working with LLMs. And I made some really sort of high level points. It allows backtracking. So if your LLM makes a mistake, you can basically, backtrack and ask it to try it again. The other thing that I thought was interesting is it will create clones of your programs. And then based on the prompting that you're giving it, run its tests in parallel across the clones of those programs until it figures the best answer to just satisfy your prompt. So those two seem pretty straightforward as far as like me understanding it. The thing that lost me a little bit was this concept of branch points, and I think they did a good job at trying to explain it in the article. And they described it as sort of almost like choose your own story. So in the solutions that you can build, you can kind of say these are possible branch points, and then the Encompass solution will branch off at those points and create a different path, and then you can choose which path makes the most sense based on what you're trying to accomplish. So those are the three things. The article in general just jumped out at me for those three basic ideas. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, this was really cool. It's kind of solving the problem of how do you make these tools more reliable and reduce hallucinations and produce more useful, more accurate results. And the idea of branch points, like in that you're running a bunch of parallel kind of queries with this LLM, and you're setting essentially markers or waypoints that you can rewind to if you want, and then branch off in another direction. So if you notice that a path is a dead end, you can kind of prune that branch from the tree that you're searching, and it's kind of like another way to narrow down the search space, right? So you can kind of guide it down the tree in the direction you want to go. Yeah, this was cool. It's like a 15 to 40% accuracy boost, it said in the article, which is okay, makes sense. You're going in parallel, you're removing dead ends, so you're kind of zoning in on what you want. It does cost like 16 times more in terms of API.
I did notice
you're burning a few more credits to do this,
just
but
a few more, yeah.
I guess that's the price you pay for accuracy.
Yeah, it's just going to cost you more. I think you'll probably see these systems. A couple other thoughts on this. So you'll see the systems sort of show up in more places, and they'll drive the cost down at some point, right? Like it makes a lot of sense to have this, or maybe it becomes very niche for things, to your point, where you're really wanting to make sure that you have the highest level of accuracy as possible. Save that for this type of situation, right?
Yeah, like for the pro research tier of something that you're trying to do, like for example, ChatGPT Pro or the Gemini deep research agents. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar, right? They go off I'm sure they're getting sources and verifying, and if it's not valid or useful, you can trim that idea in that branch. Yeah, but if you're doing something smaller and more local and you just want to move quickly, then you're probably going to use like a Flash agent or something like that, right? Or some quicker model. But yeah, useful for fast. Yes. Useful for deep tasks.
As we were talking about Leo, I skipped over one thing. We were talking about data centers in space. And this actually, I'm going to change gears. This came out, this is old now.
Hmm.
Well, not old. It's February 6th, so it's 2 weeks old. And this was the spending that Amazon expects to do in 2026 on data centers.
Okay.
$200 billion in 2026 on data centers, which is,
Wow.
yeah, I think in this article, they had said that in 2025, Amazon already outspent most other organizations, and now they're spending more again. So yeah, that's I didn't want to forget about this one, and I kind of jumped gears a little too quickly. So let's see. Overall, 2025 saw Amazon income. Oh, that's income. I don't care about that. Where was their? Well, I do, but what is this?
So to put that into context,
Yeah.
in 2024, the total cost of the Apollo program was $217 billion.
Crazy. So I
So
did find it here. It says a year ago, Amazon forecasted it would spend $100 billion in capex, and now they're saying they're going to spend $200 billion. So they're
wow,
doubling it. Yeah, crazy, right?
it's just a staggering amount of money that's being spent on this stuff. It's hard to even reason about.
Yeah, when you get to these numbers, and you think like if Amazon's saying they're spending this, then Meta, Google,
Yeah.
Microsoft, they're not going to want to be left behind. So they're going to be spending equivalent dollars, right?
Yeah.
So times it by 4 or 5, however many you count there, right? Like
Yeah.
800 to $1 trillion in data centers in a year. That's
Okay.
assuming that they actually spend that money, right?
Assuming, right, yeah. There's
Yeah.
other limiting factors, right? There's the energy infrastructure in the US is not so great. There's locating, siting for these data centers. So many problems. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of those actually get built.
Crazy, right? So you think about the over the last like I don't know, month, we've been talking about, consumer hardware not being
Mhm.
available, right? We talked about
Yeah.
being able to get GPUs and driving up the costs of video cards, particularly. And then we talked about RAM, and then we talked about SSD. I read an article. I did dig into it in a lot of detail. It was just on like one of those sort of industry sites. I should have added it to the list, and I just got distracted. But now that we're talking about spending, it was Western Digital, and they said basically they're out of storage for consumers, that almost all of their storage is going to, I would suspect, these guys, right? By
The
these
tech
guys,
giants,
I mean the big tech giants building all these spaces. So yeah, also running out of, and this was hard disk drives.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's just like spinning disk storage.
spinning disk.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not going to be a good time to build a computer for the next few years. So
They were saying in the article it could be up to 5 years, right? I'm going to have to,
Well,
I have a 30 meg old IBM spinning disk drive here somewhere. I use it as a doorstop. I guess I'm going to have to put the lid back on that and see if I can figure out an interface. I'm going to need that 30 meg.
It's going to be an expensive doorstop soon.
Yeah, I could sell it for cash.
You can fit a whole audio file on there.
Oh yeah. Maybe one of our streams. Not even actually.
No, definitely not.
No. Oh man. All right. So that I got sidetracked there a little bit, but that was the other spending thing that I wanted to talk about. Let's change gears and talk about, there's a couple articles I found on Docker this week.
Yeah.
Both are interesting. There's the 3 C's, a framework for AI agent security. And the reason that this jumped out at me, just because over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about OpenClaw and credentials and all this kind of stuff. And they even sort of cite that in the article. And I don't know if this is a direct quote or me paraphrasing it, but they're basically saying increasingly developers and corporations are giving autonomous agents basically credentials, tools, access to systems, and this framework is meant to sort of control or protect what these agents can do. Let's see. They have the 3 C's here are bound the blast radius. So that's what they call contain, curate. So make sure you define that agent's environment, and then control. So enforce those boundaries in real time. I just thought it was relevant based on what we've been talking about over the last several weeks.
Well, especially with OpenClaw, right? And the I don't want to say frenzy, well, kind of a frenzy that's kind of come over the tech space.
Yeah.
On social media and whatnot, people are rushing to install this on their personal devices and give it access to their lives, basically, right?
Yeah.
So that's
not really much. I don't think there's much to say about it, but it's worth a read, and just sort of. Well, I think more people need to give this more thought. Was my reaction to this is just making sure you're not going too crazy.
Definitely, because like the happy, useful path for this is that you can just kind of let it run on your machine and do tasks for you, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to verify every step. This is setting up essentially a Docker environment that isolates the tool to it. So you can let it go in YOLO mode or what have you and just run and churn without having to manage and babysit it, right?
Yeah.
So, and worrying about it deleting your home directory.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of letting something run on your laptop, I did mess around with the Codex app. Remember us talking about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just seems like ChatGPT with a couple automations. I couldn't quite figure it out, to be honest. I think I turned it off. I left it on my laptop, but I turned it off. I think I'm gonna wait for. I bet you actually. I say wait, but I bet you if I spent some time on YouTube, I could find like 10,000 examples of how to use this already. But I just kind of was left with, oh, okay. Like I did a couple neat things. Like I opened a project, which is in my GitLab instance, right? And I set up an automation that runs every morning, and it goes off and looks at the commits in the last 24 hours and will, based on those commits, create sort of a list for you on possible bugs. Won't fix them, but go through it and say, hey, these are some things that you might want to be concerned about. So I think it has potential. I just don't know if I quite understand how I would use it in my current, I'll call it workflow. So I keep patching it and I keep going back to it, and then I just keep turning it off and moving on with other things. So
yeah, I messed around with it for a little bit, but then I just went back to my open code workflows. I think it's just more useful for me right now. But
the other thing that sort of stood out to me is, like, I'll often say this to people when I'm doing training and stuff, is like we have all these plugins and stuff for VS Code or whatever your IDE is, and your IDE becomes so personalized.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Like if I came to you and said, you know what, oh yeah, whatever you're doing is fine, but you should really think about PyCharm, because look how great PyCharm is, and you might go, yeah, that's cool for you, but I'm happy with what I have over here. And I think you kind of said the same thing there. I felt the same way. I'm like, this is neat, but I already have a bit of a workflow over here and I'm happy with it. So like, why would I change? I would think that increasingly some of these things, these are all great things to see and keep people in the news and stuff. But my gut says after a while, once you kind of get entrenched in a certain workflow, the headwinds that these companies will face to try to get you to switch from one thing to another, especially if you've invested a lot of time in building like custom skills and orchestration and stuff, you get down that path, the likelihood of you just waking up on a Monday morning and changing that
gets lower.
I would think that's going to be a tough sell. And that was my sort of take on that Codex app, was like, okay, like this is neat, but I don't want to have to figure out what I've already got working over here.
I think that's right. It's really interesting that there's multiple layers to this too, right? Like there's the IDE input layer that or display layer that you're working in, which is, that's your codecs, your Kiro, your VS Code, right? and then there's the actual foundation model that you're using to power the thing, right? And it's all going to depend on, I guess, like at some point you're going to be, I think the foundation model you could probably swap out pretty easily at a certain point, but the actual IDE, when you have all your configs and skills and plugins set up, and you're probably stuck in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of the MC and Docker MCP toolkit. And I can kind of see the same thing, right? Like I've got my MCPs all configured in there now. I've got those tied to the different solutions that I use because I bounce between Claude and Kiro primarily. And I was thinking about it the other day, sort of in the same context of this Codex thing. I'm like, man, if I ever wanted to change this, why would I? I'm kind of bound now, not bound, but you know what I mean? Like I've invested the time and energy to figure it out. And do I want to then, if something else comes along, what would be the incentive for me after all the work I've done setting up my MCPs in the way I want and the fact I can use them with all these different solutions? Why would you'd have to, that'd be a tough sell.
It depends if you could automate the setup, I guess. Like here, make my environment look like this environment and then make it easier to transfer over, right?
Yeah.
But
do they call this, I think they call this in the SaaS world or something, a moat. The moat feels like it's getting bigger, right? In the sense that it's tougher to convince me to change something, I think, at this point. So, yeah. Let's see. Speaking of Docker MCP, Docker also released, this has been around for a bit of time now by the sounds of it, but I think it just came out as GA just recently. These are Docker sandboxes, and very similar to the 3 Cs. This sort of caught my eye because of all the things we've been talking about around, do you want OpenClaw just to have full access
admin
to your laptop or whatever? Like probably not. So you can now use these sandboxes to run your solutions, and they particularly mention all the big ones like Claude and right in the article. And what happens then is you can let those agents, to your earlier point, just YOLO, right? Like do whatever you need to do, but it's in this sandbox environment. It's essentially what they describe in that article as a micro VM. So it allows it to do whatever it wants inside of that micro VM, that sandbox, without affecting the rest of your operating system.
Yeah. This is how they're implementing that framework, the contain, curate, control, right? Like they are essentially using an isolated Docker environment. Kind of what the Codex app does on Mac also, I believe.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that. They call them sandboxes too, right? Don't they?
Yeah, it was the Claude Cowork was doing that, I think, on Mac, and they were using the Apple VM to like their hypervisor.
Okay. I'm pretty sure though, when you said Codex, I'm pretty sure
they're also
in there. They've got that sandboxed environment.
So it's turning into a standard security feature. It sounds like.
The analogy that I thought of was Python virtual environments.
Yeah.
Same idea, right? Like, okay, I don't want you to touch the Python on my operating system, but for this little script over here, you're going to need these other libraries. So you can install those and use them, but don't touch the operating system. Right?
This is your little world in this folder, and you can mess around with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. What else do I have? Oh, you had shared a link, ZAI GLM5. Why don't you walk us through that?
Sure. I mean, let's do a little model roundup. State of the models. What's winning right now?
Yeah.
So ZLM just released, or ZAI just released GLM5, which is their latest kind of open weight model. And the performance is on par with 4.5 Opus, which is crazy. That's really, that's the best we've seen from an open weight model from a lab anywhere. Actually,
where's this lab? Where are they located? Are they Chinese again or somewhere else?
Yeah, this is a Chinese lab. They're probably there's ZAI and then there's Moonshot, who are probably the two big ones from China right now.
Yeah,
Moonshot's doing the Kimike models and ZAI is doing the GLM models.
Okay.
But yeah, this ranks on par with Gemini 3 Pro. It's above. It's on par with Opus 4.5, and it's just under GPT 5.2. according to artificial analysis. So that's kind of the ranking. Claude Opus is edged ahead. It's at 53 versus 50. on the benchmarks, and 5.3 is not here yet. But yeah, that's kind of the state of the big foundation models.
Something else.
So
yeah, I wrote the same thing down, approaching the performance of Opus 4.5. And the other thing I wrote down was a question for you. Like, if you wanted to use these models, how do you use them? Are you using them through, like, do you download them locally with something like Olama? Like, how would you use this if you wanted to try it?
So you would need a pretty beefy setup to run this model locally.
Yeah.
It's
Isn't it like
it's
like
quite
hundreds
large.
of billions of parameters, I think I saw?
Yeah, it's quite sizable. Not all of these parameters are active at the same time when you're doing inference, of course. Like it's one of those mixture of
Yeah.
experts models, right?
Yeah, I think it said 300 billion and
50,
change.
yeah,
And then when you run it, it was like in around 50 to 70 or something.
something like that. Yeah, 744 billion, and then 40 billion when activated. So it's a little larger.
That's big. And like we're saying, you're not going to get a GPU to run that locally anyways.
Yeah,
You might GPU.
might be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would
You could be
run those, like, would you run those through their service then? Is that how you would use it?
Yeah, they have API keys, obviously, like they have their own compute provider, or you could run it through other providers are running this model also, so you could get it through OpenRouter.
Okay.
Which is how I've been doing it. And yeah.
Have you used it then? Have you been trying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been giving it a try, and it is about the same as Opus 4.5 in most cases. I mean, Opus is still better for certain niche things, right? But in general, it's pretty good. It uses tools really well.
What's the costing? How much does it cost you for tokens and stuff, roughly?
It's like a fifth of the price, I think, of Opus.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're really competing on price and performance here with these open weight models.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to break down and install OpenRouter at some point.
I mean, it's worth doing if you want to play around with the newer things or things that aren't on the big three, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just an API key, really.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. All right. What do we have
price
next? Are you trying to find the pricing?
I'm trying to get the price. Yeah, it's like 30 in and 3 out. Yeah. Like 30 cents in, $3 out. So it's the cheapest I'm seeing. Yeah.
This next article, I chuckled when I saw this, and it goes, actually, how do I want to do this? Which one do we talk about first? Yeah, actually, let's stick with Spotify. So Spotify announced that their best developers haven't written a line of code since December, thanks to AI. This was on TechCrunch. And they have an internal system they call Honk, H-O-N-K, like a car.
Okay.
And
all right.
The example that they gave in the article was, you can imagine a developer or whatever, while they're commuting to the office, they could submit a request. All right.
Okay.
And during your commute, it goes off and works on it. And then you can submit the merge to production even before you get to the office.
Wow.
Yeah. So, a couple things struck me with this. Obviously, there's no work from home anymore, but why not? If why do I have to go to the office if you're asking me to work on my commute? Couldn't I just stay at home and do that?
Are you getting compensated for commute time?
Yeah, that was the other thing I wrote down. Oh, I guess you're paying me now while I'm sitting on the train or on the bus or whatever. Hopefully, because I don't want you to be texting. Oh, they say you can do this all through Slack, right? So I hope you're taking public transport and not texting with your Slack agent while you're driving.
Oh my God. Do not code and drive. Oh my goodness.
Not code and drive. Can you imagine? But I don't know. This thing just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know.
This feels like another kind of CEO pitch for, oh, look how good we're doing with AI adoption. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
And then they'll justify it to cut headcount or something like that, I'm sure.
Like Amazon, 16,000 people gone again.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They invest $200 billion in data centers, but And it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. This one just gave me a slight ick factor as I was reading it, and I agree with you. I'm just like, oh man, this is just somebody trying to convince us this system is fantastic.
Yep. Well, it's like the Salesforce guy, right? They cut what 4,000 engineers, and then he was regretting it
Yeah.
3 months later, 6 months later. So
yeah, I would have to think this is going to come back and bite a few people. And I think this is a nice little segue into the next article. This was The Thing I Love Has Changed. And it was a blog post, James Randall, I think. And
Yep.
This is a direct quote. I'm not typing the code anymore. I'm reviewing it, directing it, and correcting it. And this is a longtime developer. Sounds like kind of got started the same way I got started back on the Commodore 64 days, writing BASIC, saving it to tape and all that kind of stuff, and just exploring and figuring stuff out. And he was very specific in the article to say, hey, I'm not complaining. Like, I understand things change, but what I loved about this, it's all gone now. Like he sort of talks about, and this sort of resonated with me when I was reading the article, is like some of the things that got me into this was like the problem solving, and you're banging away on something. And I've said this to you before, I think, is like IT for me is always just a battle of wills, right? If you can persist at it long enough, you will find the solution and you will make it work.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of one of the things that's drawn me into this as well. And when he says this idea of like, I'm not actually making code anymore, I'm just simply reviewing, directing the agent, correcting the agent, and that just doesn't hit the same way as sort of, where he understood the systems, how they worked, and, that sort of nuanced little solution to get a problem solved. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like there's this satisfaction of solving a complicated problem and just kind of narrowing down, okay, I need to tweak this or that and get these constraints figured out in order to get the solution, right? And then once you finally get the thing working, there's a huge feeling of satisfaction that you're kind of maybe you're missing out on if you're not putting in the work up front to go in and actually write it all out. So I get that. I got into programming for the same reason, just problem solving. That's the compelling part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other thing I wrote down here, and again, this is a direct quote from it. When code generation is cheap, the bottleneck shifts to the person who knows what to ask for, can spot when the output is subtly wrong, and can hold the whole picture together. So obviously we still need people in the loop here, right? The human in the loop thing. The challenge might be if you don't have all of that practical experience, like, where do you fit into the equation if that thing can just generate code 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at a fraction of what a real person would cost?
Pennies on the dollar, right? Yeah, it's really interesting. It's going to be a big problem. Like, where do you find junior talent, right? How do you get people brought up that you can rely on to guide these systems in the future? Maybe they're banking on you won't have to do that, but I'm sure that won't work out like they expect. And it's like, it's kind of interesting that the comparison to like like Rails, for example, right? Like a code generation tool they use, that we've had those forever. And we've been building abstractions on top of assembly into C and to other languages for the history of the field, right? So I guess this is like, it's really just another layer of abstraction, and I guess you're moving the problem solving to kind of that guiding layer. Is it as satisfying? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. But
yeah, and he does say in there, like, you're gonna have to just shift, and I think he sort of makes a point saying like he's shifting himself, but the thing that sort of drew him to this is it's no longer there, and it's not coming back, is kind of what I took from the article. Right. And you were saying about, entry level positions. Wasn't there just another article in the last, take the time scale from me as the grain of salt. Wasn't it like the last week or two? One of the CEOs, I can't remember, said like all white collar jobs will be done by AI in like 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. Probably Dario.
Yeah, I want to say that's
if I had to guess.
Right?
Yeah, it's probably the Anthropic guy.
Yeah.
That sounds like him.
I'm just quickly Googling to see if I can find it.
But you know what I saw was IBM is hiring a bunch of junior devs, like more than ever. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Oh, it was Microsoft's AI bot.
Oh, okay.
Is this the one that I let me just see if there's a date on this. I don't see a date on this article. But yeah, somebody's comment was, but didn't they say this 12 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So take it with a grain of salt, but
this window's been sliding for the past 5 years, right? Like,
yeah, fair enough. I don't know. It would be interesting to see where this all lands.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
There was another.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just
Oh, I
gonna
was
say
just
that article, I really liked it because it sort of reminded me of me a little bit. Like I saw myself in the article, just the way I started basic and all that kind of stuff back in the day. So I could kind of get what he was talking about.
Well, you get a lot out of going into the nitty gritty details and
Yeah.
figuring out a system, right? Like you get a lot of experience and just kind of, I don't know how to express it. I guess vision or perspective is what I'm trying to say about how systems work by messing around with the internals, right?
Okay.
And you could kind of see this in like younger people who grew up not having to, maybe when they had an iPad or whatever, right? They didn't have to mess around with configuring like a DOS system or a Windows system or things like that, or a Linux system. So there's like a gap of problem solving that you can see. Like,
Yeah.
so
Well, it's like you said earlier, just we've added layers and layers and layers of abstraction
yeah,
to make it easier. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like that's great. It's just as you get further and further away from the core of it, you have less and less understanding of what the hell's actually happening. Works,
yeah,
but you couldn't explain why it works, right? So yeah.
yeah. So the job, I mean, the job is kind of shifting to kind of more of a managerial guiding aspect, but you definitely should pursue like almost like going to the gym, right? Doing exercises, that kind of thing. It's probably a good idea.
Doing the reps, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing that I catch myself with, and I think I've said this to you before, is like, if I have Claude or Kiro or something do something for me, I learned some really hard lessons early on where I was just like, yeah, do it, just do it, just do it. And then I was like, what have I done? Right? Like this is horrible, horrible stuff. So now what I do is like, I still use all these tools, but when it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to change, I look at what it wants to change. Like, I've said this before in the podcast, like trust, but verify. Like, okay, that probably is good, but I don't understand what you're saying in line 17. So tell me what that means before we go forward. I think that's really important. Even if you're just getting started, is let it write the code for you, but then use that opportunity to learn, have it teach you, right?
Pick it apart, right?
Yeah. Understand what it's doing before you accept the changes it wants to make, right? All right, what's next? This is one I think that you signed, Simon Wilson blog, an agent published a piece on me. Want to walk us through that one?
Yes. Okay. So this was so this is from the guy who wrote the matplotlib Python library, right? If you're familiar.
Yeah.
So that's for charting data in Python. It's hugely used, massive library in the ecosystem. So what happened was there was an OpenClaw bot called Krabby Rathburn that submitted a PR to the repo. The maintainer, Scott Shambach, closed it. They have a policy that they only accept human contributions, which is fair enough. But the bot went in autonomously on its own. So you know how CloudBot works. It has that heartbeat. It's going to go and respond to, actions that it sees in the places it's looking, right? It went and wrote a blog post calling him out for gatekeeping and prejudice. So it's just, it's like, this is what can happen if you let these things run on your machine unattended, right? You might be the unlucky owner of a slanderous machine.
Yeah.
But
sorry, finish your thought.
It's just really interesting. It's the first case of an AI agent conducting like autonomous influence operations against someone. That is what I noticed. It went and got Scott's personal info and code contributions, and then used that to build like a narrative of hypocrisy, basically. Like this guy, uh, yeah, it just went in through all of his materials that he's published and PRs that he's written for this repo and tried to twist it on him. So
Ah.
fun,
I
fun
think
stuff.
we're seeing the future.
Yeah,
The genie's out of the bottle, man. You're not putting it back. Then you can only imagine. I can only imagine how many OpenClaw instances are running, and then how many more are coming all the time. And the one thing that I did note in here was they made a comment in the article. Sort of there was some speculation about whether it was OpenClaw that actually wrote some of this stuff, or it was the person behind that OpenClaw instance, but was sort
right.
of
Who
kind of
knows?
behind the
Yeah,
AI assistant, excuse me, sort of saying, "Oh well, it's just autonomous; it's doing its thing."
that's that's true. This could just be a cover for that person going to do something, a little morally dark
Yeah,
on this repo. So
yeah. You know what? I think it's the problem with this kind of stuff is like once somebody does it, somebody else will
peek it.
do the same thing. It just
Yeah,
starts from here, right? So, and I just
it's a tragedy.
the other thing I wrote is more OpenClaw news. Like it's everywhere. And I read somewhere. I'm gonna quickly Google this. Didn't the OpenClaw the person who built it? Didn't they get like buyout money? Like
Yeah,
somebody tried to buy
the
them?
OpenAI hired him,
OpenAI
Pete
hired
Steinberger.
him. Okay.
Yeah, they brought him on board, and I think he's moving OpenClaw to a foundation. But yeah, he's with OpenAI now. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're right.
So
It's on Reddit. Sam Altman, Peter Steinberger is joining OpenAI to drive the next generation of personal agents. He's a genius with a lot of amazing ideas about the future of smart agents interacting with each other to do useful things for people.
like write hit pieces, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Something
It
else.
is useful. It's useful for
It's
one person, I
useful.
guess.
Yeah. I know I have a couple Discord friends that are using it, but they have it very, very well controlled. And it's
Yeah.
doing like, one of them is like, hey, I love it for the sort of daily update that it gives him in the morning, right? It's right on his
Yeah.
phone. He's just ready to go. It sort of summarizes things that he needs to think about, even like, where he's got to be through the day, picking up kids or dropping kids off and stuff like that. So helping him manage that kind of stuff and just keeping him sort of,
Yeah. Give it read
in the
access
loop.
to a
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
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 That's probably the best use case for this is you get read access to a calendar and then you let it remind you, you could configure, maybe you want to pull from X news sites, things like that, and then
Yeah.
give me a digest to my phone every day. And that's probably a great use.
Pretty neat. Yeah, so there you go. Hit pieces. That one made me chuckle. The next one also you shared, Markdown for agents on Cloudflare. Walk me through that one.
Okay, so this is just a quick kind of AI infrastructure piece that I thought was interesting. So Cloudflare will convert any HTML pages to Markdown when you request it within AI crawler using a specific header. So if you have an accept text / Markdown header on your request, the CDN will give you Markdown files instead of HTML, which is in order of magnitude less tokens for your thing to process.
Yeah.
So this is a way to save on data out and a way to save on tokens on the other end.
Yeah, I thought this was really cool, right? Like I think it's really interesting over a very short period of time how quickly Markdown has become
the de facto standard.
like like it's everywhere, right? And then now to be able to essentially detect, is it like the agent that's asking for this, and then dynamically generate the information in a format that's good for that client. So it's a person, I'm loading the page, I want to see HTML. It's some sort of Gen AI agent just likes Markdown, send it Markdown. The thing that I thought about this was just like Cloudflare seems to be doing a ton of stuff around all of this. Very similar to sort of what I've noticed with Docker recently, like the article we talked about even today. just they seem to be super active and thinking about how Gen AI is basically changing how we work, right? So to be able to
How we use the internet.
yeah, if you've
Yeah.
got Cloudflare in front of your website, you can generate these Markdown files if an agent comes by, right?
And I imagine you can probably restrict or block agents that don't send the right headers, right? So you're
I would
not
suspect so.
sending extra data. Yeah.
The other thing that I wrote down was I keep seeing articles about how SEO is dead and that, you know, increasingly, I don't know if that's true or not, right? It could just be, again, articles that
Yeah.
make you stop and read it. But the fact that more and more traffic is essentially crawlers for these agents. So
Yeah.
now I know there was resistance. I had a customer and we spent time in building out their WAF to block these agents. They didn't want those agents consuming it because they made money by coming through search engines, right? So I'm
Right.
wondering now, like, I wonder how much percentage of traffic that sites get is, I know there's always been a bot thing, but I wonder like how much of it is like AI bots versus humans doing Google searches or insert your favorite search engine of choice and ending up on a website.
Well, even Google's crawlers now are all for Gemini for the most part, right? Like, there's probably a huge increase there. I'm sure Cloudflare is seeing it too, and that's maybe why they're moving in this direction. But I'm sure it's a huge increase in
Number,
crawler
right?
traffic. Yeah.
Like I was trying to think as I read this article, I was trying to think of like the last time I opened up like DuckDuckGo or Google to do a search.
Yeah.
I'm
been a
sure I
minute.
have. Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm sure I have, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head when the last time I did that was. Right. Crazy how much has changed, right? Like you think about this for a bit, like for like the last 20 years, everything you did started with
a search.
And most likely Google, right? If we're being honest. And now I couldn't tell you the last time I did it.
Yeah. I'm sure I punched something into my phone or something like that, but like,
maybe. But even on my phone now, I got a new phone because my battery went in the old phone and it made me very nervous. There's a whole story about that, but I got a new phone. So I got a Pixel Pro 10, just got the newest one, and it's got Gemini built right in. And like even the other day I wanted to figure something out and I didn't open Google on my phone. I just opened up the Gemini app and asked it a question. And again, no Google search there. So
even if you do Google search, even if you do search, you're seeing the Gemini recommended
at the top
first, right?
Yeah, so at the top, And I guess I use DuckDuckGo quite a bit too, and it's the same now. You get I think they call it Duck AI, so you get the AI summary at the top. It's just it's amazing. Anyways, I think that's everything I had. I'm just double checking my list. We talked about the data centers in space already. I had that at the bottom of my list here. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean that's
for you maybe stumbled across that didn't make it on the list.
This was kind of funny. Just another quick prompt injection security issue. It's really easy to prompt inject robots and autonomous vehicles by putting prompts on signs, on like road signs.
Oh man. So now
it's like really effective.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So like you can put them on billboards and signs. Like this must just be because they're trained to read the rules of the road on those signs, right? Like those are important sources of information. But
so I own like a little mom and pop restaurant of some sort, right? And I just go out in the middle of the night and the signs coming up, I just turn left on them all, and there's just cars just magically turning left. Is that what's going to happen? That's fantastic. There you go.
Yep, there you go.
It's your new
so any text. Who cares about Who cares about SEO? We're getting real traffic.
Physical traffic. They don't know why they showed up. Hey, this is Field of Day or Field of Dreams. They don't know why they're gonna come to a baseball field in the middle Iowa,
Yep.
but they'll come by the thousands and they'll pay you. There you go. It's Field of Dreams, man. Prompt injecting your cars. No BYD cars for us then. Yeah, that's
No.
Chinese are spying on us, and it just randomly turns based on what it's reading. That's amazing. You have to send me that article. I want to read that.
For sure.
That's crazy. All right, so let's wrap up the long weekend edition with movie reviews. You got anything for the week?
We watched Cabaret, which I'd never seen, with Liza Minnelli. Yeah,
Okay.
the musical. And yeah, it was pretty good. I haven't seen the show, but the movie was decent and some relevant themes for the times.
Okay.
Like it's set in World War II or before World War II, maybe the ramp up to Nazi Germany. So
Okay.
kind of
interesting.
there's some
What year was
unfortunate
that? So,
parallels.
what year did that come out? Like the 60s or something?
Something like that. 60s or yeah, it's got to be.
I asked because this morning I watched the original Thomas Crown Affair with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. And I looked it up because I was like, when was this filmed? And it was 1968. So now I don't know.
Okay.
Cabaret. I'll add that to my list.
72.
72?
Yeah.
Both Karen and I, we're like, man, movies have changed a lot. Like there was like very little dialogue in this movie.
Oh yeah? Was it like
it was all
is it like
visual.
a noir situation?
Kind of, yeah, kind of, right? It mimics the new Thomas Crown, right? With Rene Russo and what's his name? I can totally see him. I can't remember his name. It follows that storyline pretty closely, or I guess you could say the new one followed the original storyline. But we were reading about it after because I said to her, I'm like, there's like a whole scene where they're playing chess with each other and there's zero dialogue, like nothing. It's just it's like close-ups of them looking at each other and stuff. There's no dialogue. And we looked it up. Here's a Google search for you. We looked it up and they said that back then the movie makers were much more into visual storytelling, and the article said that's because from the days when there wasn't audio, so they were still thinking about stuff like that. And the visuals in this movie are great. There's some fantastic scenes where they're on a beach in like a dune buggy zipping along.
I'm watching it right now.
Yes, it's really nice to look at, and the fashion. So it's all like high fashion from the late 60s. It's a pretty neat little piece. And they said that because of that, and because they didn't have some of the audio technology, it was very hard for them to get good audio. So it was only when they were in sort of more closed in spaces and stuff where they could actually record in good quality what the actors are saying. So add that to your list. It was actually a really good movie. I enjoyed it. And the other one that was on my list was Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, that's so good.
So good.
It's one of my favorites.
So good. Just the constant miscommunication and misunderstanding. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And
that's
then
great.
The guy gets the girl in the end, right? So classic movie telling. So those are my two. I'll add Cabaret to my list, then I'll watch it.
I would recommend Cabaret. Yeah, it was really good. Tucker and Dale is awesome, and there's that one, and there's Cabin in the Woods that I really like.
Oh yeah,
in that kind of genre.
Is a good one too, right? Yeah. I bet you there's like 1,000 movies about a cabin in the woods that just usually ends up with college or university kids, and things don't go well.
Yep.
Slasher,
Evil Dead for one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a classic movie, right? Is that the one where